Hey, what's up everybody? Thanks for checking out this video. This is my review of the 2024 NCAA semifinal round. Let's run through it. The round literally just ended upstairs. I was upstairs watching it. So I just finished up watching the whole round. I took some notes and I just wanted to go through and review what happened because there were some wild matches out there tonight. Starting at 125, we had Richie Figueroa versus Anthony Noto and Drake Ayala versus Eric Barnett. The first period of both these matches were kind of boring. No real committed attacks from either guy. Figueroa and Noto, I'll start with them first. In the second period, Noto goes down. He escapes pretty quickly, and Noto was wrestling off his knee most of the match. Figueroa was able to get to a high crotch and finish real quick with 15 seconds left in the second. It was the only committed shot of the whole period, and Noto was able to escape on a restart to make the score 3-2 going into the third. So Figueroa escapes in 17 seconds in the third, makes the score 4-2. Riding time is not a factor, and Figueroa immediately starts playing the line. He's backing up, making sure that he's got room to get out of bounds if Noto's able to get onto a shot. And Noto was taking shots and shots and shots, and Figueroa gets hit for stalling, and then gets to his own single and almost finishes. Noto gets to a single, almost finishes. Figueroa actually leg passes. Noto lands on top, but Figueroa was able to hold on to the leg and get a stalemate right before, not right before, but it was really looking bad for Figueroa, and he was just able to hang on to this leg as Noto was coming around, and they end up stalemating it. Figueroa just running out of bounds at the end, gets hit for stalling with about 10 seconds left, but gets the win 4-3, and Figueroa is able to make his way into the finals. Ayala versus Barnett. A couple more actual attacks in the first period, but they weren't really getting to anything. Ayala was staying on his knee a lot of the time. He got to a single leg and was trying to shelf, but Barnett was fighting out. Barnett liked to leg pass. He leg passed like 3 or 4 times. These guys had a great second and third period. Barnett was whizzering the single and ends up in a stalemate. Ayala looked like he had the takedown initially. The Brands brothers challenge, or Tom Brands challenges, and they end up winning that challenge 3-0. Ayala was for just a moment able to switch off on his shelf, grab Barnett's back leg, and gets the takedown to go up 3-0 with about 30 seconds left, and Ayala gets the ride out at the end of the second period. At the end of the first period. Barnett then goes bottom in the second and gets up and out in 5 seconds to make it 3-1. Ayala staying on his knee most of the second period. Nothing really happened, no real committed shots, 3-1 going to the third. Ayala takes neutral, immediately gets in on a high C. Barnett defends by scrambling. Ayala re-scrambles. This was an awesome exchange they had here. Both guys were scrambling back and forth, leg passing. It looked like Ayala's going to score. Then it looks like Barnett's going to score. In the end, they get stalemated. Next whistle, Ayala goes right for a throw-by to a single leg. Barnett leg passes again. They go out of bounds. There's 1:13 left. This was great wrestling by Ayala. Even though he's the guy that's winning, he wants to make sure that he's either icing the match or at least keeping the referees off of him by staying offensive in the third and going after offensive attacks. I was really impressed with the way Ayala handled this. After those two exchanges, Ayala started shutting it down a little bit more and defend his lead and play the edge a little bit. He didn't get hit with stalling until there's 37 seconds left in the match, and then the ref hit him again for stalling with 27 seconds left in the match. So Ayala got hit for stalling 2 times in 10 seconds, which is really kind of unheard of in college wrestling, but I thought it was a great call by the referee. Once these guys start backing up and running around in the circle, they need to start hitting them earlier because it's kind of getting out of hand, I think. I mean, the way the guys defend leads and the lack of stalling calls is it kind of makes the third period neutral wrestling a little ridiculous. So good on that ref for hitting those 2 stalling calls. But Ayala is able to stay in the center, wrestle out the rest of the match, and win 3-2. And so it's going to be Ayala, who's the 3 seed, Figueroa, the 8 seed in the finals tomorrow night. moving on to 133, Dayton Fix and Dylan Ragusin had the craziest match of the night. I don't know if it was the best match of the night, but it was definitely the craziest. It was definitely the longest. The first period is 0-0, not much happening. Fix goes bottom in the second. They come up to a Wizards seatbelt, and Fix is awarded an escape after they go out of bounds. Again, more feel out in the second period. In the third period is where it really starts to get crazy. So Ragusin gets out pretty quick. Fix gets to a low leg. Ragusin scrambles out of it. He literally did a front somersault. Fix got all the way behind him, and he just jumped forward and rolled and was able to keep the wrestling alive and didn't give up the takedown. It was really nice wrestling by Ragusin. The officials actually reviewed this and stuck with it with a no takedown call. So it was 1-1. They go to overtime. Ragusin almost picks Fix's ankle, but Fix is able to scramble out with 1:17 left in the first overtime. Double unders from Ragusin, and he ran Fix out of bounds. Michigan was looking for a stall call. I'm not really sure why. They looked a little frustrated with the situation. Fix got to a high C to a single leg. Ragusin was defending his far ankle and trying to kick off, but it ended up getting stalemated with 17 seconds left. Fix hits a duck under to nothing, and they go to ride outs. Now, the ride outs really got wild. We've already had an official's review after the somersault by Ragusin. So Fix puts his boots in. Immediately, Ragusin stands up, and he's pulling the leg out. They end up in a scramble situation, and Ragusin ends up on Fix's leg. As that happens, before that happened, Fix was in on a high crotch, but he's on top, so he's only got a 5-second count from the ref. So the ref's counting, and Fix has been hit for stalling already in the match. They hit Fix for stalling again and give Ragusin an escape. This is in double overtime, so Ragusin goes up 3-1 at the end of the first overtime. So the Oklahoma State wrestling staff was upset with the stalling call and the escape call at the same time. I don't think they really understood it, or it was kind of confusing what was going on. It was hard to follow as a fan, but Oklahoma State was obviously upset with a stalling call and then an escape call. They were saying that the stalling call was based off of a 5-second hold. I think the officials actually reviewed that and switched the call. They overruled a stalling call, which in high school wrestling, middle school wrestling, college wrestling, any wrestling, I have never seen a stalling call overturned before, ever, because stalling is 100% based on the referee's discretion. I don't care what happens. If that referee feels like one person is stalling, they are stalling. There's no real definition in the rule book that says this is stalling and this isn't stalling. If the referee feels that one wrestler is stalling, then it's stalling. Now, I think they overturned this because they were saying that it was based on the referee's 5 count. But even that, I've never seen overturned before. The ref gave a clear 5 count and hit Fix for stalling. So Michigan was furious about this overturning of a stalling call because it just never happens. So they go into the second ride-outs. Ragusin's up 2-1 with Dayton on the bottom. The announcers the whole time, Daniel Cormier, who's in Oklahoma State, Dayton Fix's school, he's an alumni, so he's all upset about the call. They're all agreeing that it's a poor stalling call as this is all going on. It was a super long break. Goes bottom. Immediately, Ragusin gets called for locked hands. And so Fix immediately gets a penalty point. Michigan throws the brick to go over the locked hands call. The referees review it and agree that there was a locked hands call, and because Ragusin got out after 28 seconds, he would have to ride Fix out the entire time in order to continue the overtimes, And so Ragusin cut Fix with 9 seconds left in order to try to get a takedown to win the match outright, and he wasn't able to. But the Michigan corner, Ragusin, Bormet, everybody was furious about these calls. It was a wild situation at 133 on that mat. Those official reviews took forever, and I mean, at one point, like 3 coaches from each staff, like 3 referees, all these officials were on the mat. It was a wild scene. Michigan was not happy with the way that went at all. On the other mat was Vito Arujau and Ryan Crookham, which was kind of the match to watch. Everybody, I think, thought that Dayton Fix would win against Dylan Ragusin. I'm an Illinois guy. Dylan Ragusin's an Illinois guy, so I was really pulling for Ragusin. I was really bummed he lost. But Vito and Crookham was a great match. Vito really took it to him. It was kind of like seeing a Vito on a mission. I watched the match from 2 weeks ago at the EIWAs, and Vito just didn't look like he was moving like himself. He went out there from wire to wire, dominated the match. In the first period, you could see that Vito came out looking to get that first takedown in the first 30 seconds. Vito dropped to a knee, blast off single leg, scrambles a little bit and scores a go behind. Crookham escaped immediately to go to make the score 3-1. Vito got back to his legs, whizzer seatbelt, they go out of bounds. Vito was moving at a blistering pace. He was elbow passing and getting to Crookham's legs a lot, and they kept going out of bounds. Vito was totally controlling the center, backing Crookham up. Vito was able to get to Crookham's legs and actually doubled him and lifted him up and waited up there a while, trying to figure out that position and get where he wanted him. He dropped Crookham to his hip and had to work a little bit to hook Crookham's bottom leg. Crookham ends up giving up a takedown towards the end of the first to make it 6-1 going into the second. Crookham picks bottom, and he was out pretty quick to make it 6-2. And Crookham started at the beginning of the second. He was controlling center a little bit more. Vito looked like he was slowing down and waiting for Crookham to take a chance. After Vito kind of got his initial lead, he really, excuse me, Vito really started picking Crookham apart on reattacks. He would just kind of wait for Crookham to take a shot, and he would just elbow pass, boom, get to his legs. So Vito hit a nice reattack, put Crookham back to his hip, just like that second takedown, hooked the bottom leg, worked his way up to get another takedown to go up 9-2, and was just kind of picking Crookham apart. In the third period, Vito went bottom. He was up and out right away. He blasts through Crookham on a beautiful a single leg. He cut to the front side, put Crookham to his butt, and was able to get another takedown, and then cut him immediately with 10 seconds left, and Vito was trying to get another takedown with 10 seconds left. He was really trying to send a message and set the tone that he is the best guy in the country. So our finals is going to be Dayton Fix versus Vito Arujau. I know I can't remember if it was the quarters or semis last year, but they wrestled last year, and Vito beat Dayton up. So it'll be really interesting to see. These guys are both studs. Vito's a returning NCAA champ, world champion. Dayton has a world silver medal. He's like a 5-time All-American. He's been in the finals twice. He's taken third. So it's going to be a great finals at 133. Moving on to 141, Jesse Mendez and Anthony Echemendia. Excuse me. And then Bo Bartlett and Lachlan McNeil. The Bartlett-McNeil match was not real thrilling. First period, again, a big feel-out process. In the second, Lachlan takes bottom. Bartlett rides for about 20 seconds, and Lachlan gets away. Still no real committed shots throughout the entire second period. In the third, Bartlett went down, and he's working for his escape, and actually ends up with a reversal in about 25 seconds. And Bartlett looked like he was going to work his way to a ride out to win 2-1 or 3-1, but he ends up getting a Navy ride and almost turns Lachlan, and then eventually gets to his 2-on-1 tilt, gets too near fall to go up 4-1, and ends up winning the match 5-1. Nothing real thrilling there, but Bartlett gets the job done and makes the finals. Mendez and Echemendia, a lot more action. Mendez was snapping and got to a high C pretty quick in the first period. He was having a tough time finishing. Echemendia is super tough to finish on. At one time, Echemendia got to a full split and then did a front somersault to try to defend like a double leg, but Mendez was able to sprawl and finish and go up 3-0. He was immediately to his arm bar and was riding tough. I think he rode Echemendia out the whole first period to go up 3-0. No. I'm sorry. Echemendia did get away in the first period, but Mendez was able to build up quite a bit of riding time. Mendez in the second takes bottom, was up and out pretty quick to go up 4-1. And Mendez pretty quickly in the second started defending his lead and working on the line a little bit. He's a great wrestler, but I'd like to see guys just attack more, look a little bit more like Drake Ayala did at 125, looking to extend their lead and score more points than just one takedown and then shut it down. Echemendia in the third chose bottom. He chose neutral. He ended up, it was 5. Echemendia did not get away. It was 4-0. I wrote 4-1. Anyway, Echemendia gets a takedown on Mendez to make it 5-3 because Mendez got away right away. Mendez gets hit for stalling for a second time to make it 5-4. Mendez had about a 1:08 riding time, and Echemendia was coming after him. He shot in, pulled up to double unders, and had Mendez really dead to rights. He looked like he was really in danger, and he almost stepped into inside trip and ends up back down in a sprawl position after trying to inside trip. And then Echemendia comes up again with the double unders. They again, Mendez again was able to defend and get to a whizzer seatbelt position, and they end up in a wild scramble. It looked like Echemendia was really going to pull off a takedown here, and Mendez was somehow able to just leg pass and hold on to Echemendia's leg, and I think they end up going out of bounds, and Mendez is able to win the match 6-4 with the 1:08 riding time. It was really close at the end. Echemendia did have Mendez in a lot of danger with those double unders. So we're going to have Mendez and Bo Bartlett. That's a rematch of the Big Ten Finals, which Jesse Mendez won. It'll be interesting to see if he can beat Bo Bartlett 2 times in a row. Penn State's known so well for just being up for big matches and really turning it on at the NCAA tournament and not always performing their best at Big Ten. So that'll be an interesting final to see, an all Big Ten final there. 149, the number 1 seed, Ridge Lovett, really had an interesting match here against Caleb Henson of Virginia Tech. Again, not much going on in the first period. A little bit of heavy hand fighting from Henson. He likes to hit like a low leg. They got in there a couple times, scrambled a little bit, but no points. In the second, Henson picks neutral. Ridge Lovett's really good on top. That's kind of his best position. So they go neutral. The second period is very similar to the first, no scores. In the third, Lovett picks top, which is an interesting choice because if he picks bottom, I don't know how good Caleb Henson is on the bottom, or I'm sorry, on the top position. But Lovett picked top, essentially, I guess assuming he's either going to get a turn or a ride out. I mean, in a 0-0 match, it was a weird choice, I thought. I don't know Ridge Lovett that well. I've watched him wrestle a few times, but I think you get up, you get out, you get your one, you take your 1-0 lead and try to score a takedown and ice the thing 4-0. So Lovett picks top, hoping that he can ride out Henson, and Henson's up and out in 45 seconds, and Lovett's not able to get a takedown, and Henson upsets the number 1 seed with a 1-0 victory by getting that escape. So that was a weird one. Austin Gomez versus Kyle Parker was another phenomenal match, high scoring, but Austin Gomez did pretty much dominate this match from wire to wire. Parko actually beat Gomez last year at the national tournament. And Gomez is the 6th seed and Parko was the 2 seed. So this was definitely an upset. But at the beginning of the match in the first period, Parko was in on Gomez's legs almost immediately. He was able to shelf and bring it up, but Gomez was able to roll and leg pass They end up in a potentially dangerous situation, and Gomez actually looked a little shaken up. He was limping around. Looked like he might actually have to take injury time, but he got back out on the mat and continued to wrestle. Gomez got in on a high C to a crackdown, and Parco chest wrapped and popped his hips back up, and no score. I mean, it was really kind of both guys were getting in, both guys were attacking. It was a great first period. But I believe it ended up being a 0-0 first period. In the second, Parco went bottom, and he was up and out pretty quick. Gomez looked to go for a throw, and Parco landed on top, but they ended up going out of bounds. I think the referees took a look at it. They confirmed no takedown, but Parco was up 1-0 with an escape. Gomez ends up getting a goal behind to go up 3-1. He had a nice big lift, and Parco tried to roll, and it looked like Gomez actually had him on his back, but they had no takedown yet while Parco was on his back, and then ended up just kind of bailing and bellying out. And so Gomez went up 3-1, and then he was out pretty quick to make it 3-2. And Gomez hit almost immediately just a beautiful sweep, caught both legs on the back side, and he went up 6-2. And Parco, I think there was only 15 seconds left, but Parco was able to escape to make it 6-3. And Gomez was in on another shot before the period ends. So there was just a ton of action in this one. In the third, Gomez took the bottom. Parco cut him to make it 7-3. Gomez hit another re-attack takedown to go up 10-3. And that was kind of, you could see the sails kind of go, or the wind going out of Parco's sails at that point. With a little over a minute to go, Gomez up 10-3. And Gomez was able to start stacking up a little riding time now. Parco did eventually get out. Gomez was just working to protect his lead at this point and hits another re-attack on Parco. But Parco was able to defend and score himself with about 10 seconds left. I'm sorry, he scored himself and then cut Gomez again to make it 11-7. But there was only about 10 seconds left. Parco's chasing, but time runs out. And so Austin Gomez is in the national finals. Absolutely beautiful re-attacks in that match from Austin Gomez. If you get a chance, definitely recommend looking that one up. Austin Gomez versus Kyle Parco. Moving on to 157. Levi Haynes and Bryce Andonian had another kind of crazy one. Not as crazy as they had last year, but still a pretty crazy one. And then Daniel Cardenas versus Ja'Cory Teemer. Ja'Cory Teemer pretty much dominated this match. First period, there was some action in scrambles, but no points. In the second period, Cardenas went bottom. He was up and out pretty quick, but Teemer hit a beautiful just post double leg. He kept Cardenas' leg split and was able to get 4 near falls. So from, within 10 seconds, he went from being down 1-0 to up 7-1. And that was pretty much the match right there. He ends up getting a ride out because there was only 10 seconds left in the second period. Teemer goes bottom. He's up and out, 8-1. Gets another takedown to go up 11-1 and gets a ride out to win 12-1. So Teemer really dominated from that. Once he got that first exchange, 7-point exchange, that was kind of the match right there. The Haynes Bryce Andonian match was a little different. Andonian wrestles a very unique style. He was shooting in, and then somehow he would shoot, and if he got stuffed, he would almost, it seemed like he was reaching over the arm to like the far lat of Haynes. Every time he would shoot, miss, reach over, and get to the far lat. And I'm not exactly sure what he does from there. He didn't hit anything in this match, but it was definitely just a weird move he was doing. I would love to see what he does from there. I'm sure it's awesome and fun to watch. So they had a back and forth match last year. Andonian went up big, and then Haynes came roaring back and ended up pinning Andonian. So in this match, the first period 0-0, and Andonian takes bottom in the second. Gets to his feet. Haynes tries to return, but ends up cutting him. So Andonian's up 1-0. Haynes hit a beautiful high C to a crackdown, and Andonian somehow was able to scramble out of it. Haynes took another shot, and Andonian got to double overs, but Haynes bailed out of it. So we go into the third, and it's 1-0. Haynes goes bottom. He's up and out right away to make it 1-1. Andonian hit a beautiful double leg, blasted right through Haynes and gets a takedown. And he tried to put a ride on. Haynes got up. He was trying to throw, Andonian was trying to throw his leg in, but Haynes got out real quick. Haynes was able to take a shot, and Andonian defended. Haynes was trying to pull a single leg in, but they get stalemated. Haynes gets to another takedown, steps over. Andonian tries to step over Haynes' whizzer and immediately gives up a takedown and actually escapes by rolling across his own back, which is something that's kind of crazy to see in Division I college wrestling. Haynes threw his boots in. He was planning to ride. He gets those legs in and puts a ride on you, and Andonian just kind of rolls across his back, exactly how you teach your kids not to do, and ends up getting the escape with 10 seconds left to make it 5-5. So they go to overtime. Andonian takes a shot. Haynes was able to block it, and I'm trying to remember exactly what happened, but Haynes ends up defending and re-attacking to a single leg. Andonian tried to dive roll and scramble through, and Haynes sprawled, caught him on his back, put a half in, pinned him just like last year. So Haynes gets the win and a pin in overtime with a half Nelson just like last year to make the national finals once again. So it's going to be Ja'Cory Teamer versus Levi Haynes at 157. Moving on to 165, another big weight class. You have Keegan O'Toole and David Carr, both returning national champions, and then Mitchell Messenbrink, Mikey Caliendo. The Messenbrink-Caliendo match, Messenbrink ends up winning. Caliendo has got the first takedown. This is their third meeting. Caliendo, I don't think, has scored an offensive point. So he got the first takedown and kind of turned some heads. But after that, Messenbrink just kind of turned it on and ran the score up. I think he ended up winning by a major decision, 17-9, Messenbrink over Caliendo, with a bunch of takedowns in there. So Messenbrink will be in the finals. And then Keegan O'Toole and David Carr, they've met 4 times in college. Carr won the first 2. Keegan O'Toole won the second 2. So this was kind of like a rubber match for now. This was the match to watch. Keegan got in Keegan O'Toole got in on a single leg pretty quick. He goes to that waterfall. He's scored on it on David Carr before, but he ends up sitting back, and Carr picked the side and tried to roll through, and Keegan was able to kind of keep his hips square to the mat as David tried to roll him through, and it looked like O'Toole had a takedown. They were kind of like in a sprawl position, but Keegan had David Carr's leg hooked and a crossface, and it looked like he was almost ready to cradle him up, but the referees signaled no takedown. There was a coach's challenge by Missouri. Refs looked at it, no takedown. So it was 0-0, and they go into the second period, 0-0. Carr goes bottom. O'Toole tries to put a ride on for about 30 seconds, but gets hit for stalling. O'Toole gets to his feet. O'Toole went bottom. Carr tries to ride. O'Toole gets to his feet, and Carr wasn't letting go. He wasn't returning. He wasn't letting O'Toole go, so he gets hit for stalling. Carr had been hit for stalling also in the first, so that's his second stalling call. So he gets hit for stalling, gives up 1, and then lets Keegan O'Toole go. So it's 2-0 Keegan O'Toole in the second period. Carr gets to his super duck and gets to Keegan's legs and is able to end up finishing on the shelf to go up 3-2 with 25 seconds left to go, but O'Toole was able to escape, making it 3-3. O'Toole actually almost got a reversal, and Carr was able to scramble out and just give up the escape. So in the third period, Carr goes bottom, and O'Toole immediately cuts him, making it 4-3 Carr. O'Toole got to a single leg almost immediately, and he was trying to bring it up, and David Carr was defending, fighting super hard to keep that keep that whizzer and keep it down on the mat where Carr felt like he would be good. And O'Toole did eventually end up winning that fight and getting the leg high up in the air. And Carr was fighting on one leg for a long time. It was eating up a ton of clock. And then they ended up going back down. O'Toole was able to shelf and get behind Carr for a takedown to go up 6-4. But Carr was up and out quick, 6-5 for Keegan O'Toole. Carr gets in on a leg, but they go out of bounds with 26 seconds left, and O'Toole looked gassed. He took a long time getting back to the center. He was looking really gassed. And Carr came at him, hit about 2 or 3 shots in a row, single leg. O'Toole stuffs it, boom, single leg again, cuts in front, puts O'Toole to his butt, and O'Toole gives up the takedown with about 6 seconds left, and that totally took the wind out of O'Toole's sails, and he put his head on the mat and gave up the ride out, and David Carr was able to win, making his, I believe, his third national finals. It was just a phenomenal match from David Carr. I mean, it was back and forth all match. Awesome stuff from both those guys. So it's David Carr, Mitchell Messenbrink tomorrow night. That's going to be a super fun one at 165. 174, Storace versus Shane Griffith. Storace's pretty limited as to what he can do right now. But he is still very dominant. I mean, he controls the center. He's able to hand fight better than anybody. Still, no one can ride him. He's riding everybody. And he's just, I don't think he's as dynamic as he normally is on his feet, but nobody can take him down. No one can out hand fight him. So he's pretty interesting to watch right now. They go 0-0 in the first. Griffith takes bottom, and Storace puts a ride on Griffith. Gets to a Navy ride at one point and almost gets some near fall, but Griffith was fighting and defending. Storace gets the ride out in the second period, rides him for the whole 2 minutes. And then in the third, Storace goes bottom. He was up and out pretty quick to make it 1-0. And immediately now Storace goes to defending the lead. He's basically got a 2-0 lead at this point. And he's letting Griffith kind of control the ties for the first time. But Griffith just was never really able to get to anything. And Storace's able to win the match 2-0. He got hit with stalling with about 15 seconds left, but that's pretty much the match. Rocco Welsh versus Lennox Wallach. That's the other match at 174. Rocco Welsh is a freshman at Ohio State, and Lennox Wallach is from, I believe, Columbia. And they were low-seeded. I think they're the 7 and 10 seeds, or maybe the 6 and 10 seeds, or something like that. They were pretty low-seeded. Not a whole lot happened the first 3 periods. It ends up going 1-1. It's 1-1 in the third, and Welsh ends up getting a takedown, and he'll get to see Storace in the NCAA final. So it'll be a freshman against a returning 3-time national champion. That's going to be a fun one. Hopefully Welsh can make it interesting. Storace, again, limited, so anything can happen. We'll see what Welsh can do with Storace tomorrow night. 184, Parker Keckeisen versus Trey Munoz, and Dustin Plott versus Isaiah Salazar. I know Dustin Plott's really, really good, and I feel like he's jumped levels since going up to 184. It just feels like he's really separated himself. He really kind of took it to Salazar, the Big Ten champ here. Salazar's from Minnesota. Plott was able to score a go-behind takedown. Salazar's up pretty quick, 3-1. Salazar's getting could get to Plott's legs, but Plott would just sprawl and totally stuff him. Plott got to another single leg, comes up through a waterfall, and ends up getting another takedown to go 6-1 going into the second. Plott took bottom. Gets ridden a little bit, but ends up getting out to make it 7-1. That's how the second ends. In the third period, Salazar goes on the bottom, and Plott put a ride on him for a little while. Broken flat, riding wrist. Sal eventually gets away, Salazar, after a minute. So it's 7-2 Plott, and Plott was working to get the major and gets another takedown 10-2. And ends up winning the match 11-2 with riding time. So Dustin Plott's going to be in the national finals for Oklahoma State. They have 2 finalists with him and Fix. And then Parker Keckeisen, the 1 seed, versus Trey Munoz, the 4 seed. And Keckeisen pretty much dominated the match. Keckeisen got to a single, was able to shelf and get to the far ankle to take the lead 3-0. Munoz was able to get out pretty quick and make it 3-1 going into the second. Keckeisen takes bottom in the second, and he's up and out pretty quick. Gets to a single, hits the corner and finishes 7-1. Keckeisen was still working to score the whole match. Wasn't able to convert anything the rest of the... Oh, I'm sorry, no. He got one more takedown. He shot off the whistle with 10 seconds left and was able to finish to go up 10-2 going into the third period. Munoz took bottom, and he was up and out after 15 seconds. I'm sorry, that last takedown from Keckeisen happened at the end of the second, not at the end of the third. Apologize about that. So anyway, Keckeisen wins 10-2, gets the major decision for his team. And then we're moving on to 197. So it's going to be Parker Keckeisen, Dustin Plott, 184 national finals. That's a rematch of the Big 12s from last week. And I believe from 2 weeks ago, Keckeisen majored Plott 2 weeks ago. So it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow night. If Plott can navigate that a little bit and make it more of a match and pull off the upset. 197, Aaron Brooks versus Rocky Elam, and Tanner Sloan versus Trent Hidlay. Aaron Brooks, the 1 seed, Trent Hidlay, the 2 seed. They both basically just took care of business. Brooks got a bunch of takedowns. I'm trying to see if anything real interesting happened, but Brooks really kind of wrestles a lot like Kale. He kind of wrist control, low leg, hits the shelf, finishes a lot. Brooks ends up getting a technical fall with a bunch of takedowns in the semis. Unbelievable to tech fall someone in the semifinals, NCAA semifinals. He hit a nice double leg at one point and snuck behind and got a takedown. So Brooks dominated. I think he ended up the final score 17-2. Sloan Hidlay. Hidlay basically gets to Sloan's body immediately. They go out of bounds. Hidlay had a little bit of trouble opening him up. Eventually, in the second, Sloan picks bottom. He's up and out 1-0. And Hidlay gets a takedown pretty quick into the second period after Sloan gets away. Puts a long ride, gets over a minute of riding time, and a ride out to go into the third period. Hidlay picks neutral, and Sloan is really, really good on top. It's his best spot, so it was nice for Hidlay to get that takedown in the second, get a ride out, so he didn't need to pick bottom. He essentially was up 4-1 at that point, and he's able to survive the third period without giving up any stalling points and beats Tanner Sloan 4-1. So it's going to be Trent Hidlay. I'm sorry, not Trent Hidlay. Is it Trent Hidlay? Yeah, it is Trent Hidlay. I can't tell them apart. They interviewed Trent and his brother Hayden, which was kind of a cool little interview on ESPN. And he's going to have Aaron Brooks there, the 1 and 2 seeds. It'll be interesting. That's kind of like the only guy I could see giving Aaron Brooks any kind of a match is Hidlay, because he's got a different style. They've both wrestled internationally. They've both done well domestically in freestyle here, so it'll be interesting to see that match tomorrow night. I hope it's a fun one. Hope there's a lot of scoring and both those guys get after it. 285, Greg Kirkfleet versus Colton Schultz. Kirkfleet was totally dominant in this one. Almost immediately takes down Schultz and rides him the entire first period with Schultz on his belly. He really couldn't get off his belly at all. It was pretty impressive top work from Kirkfleet. I was a little surprised neither guy got hit for stalling, because Schultz is on his belly the whole time and Kirkfleet was really riding the hips. Wasn't really trying to turn, but what are you going to do? Second period, Kirkfleet takes bottom up and out pretty quick. He's got over 2 minutes of riding time, and then scores another takedown pretty fast to go up 7-0, and had Schultz bellied out again. Rode him the whole first period. Schultz picks neutral, and Kirkfleet basically defends the lead the whole third period. Schultz gets hit for stalling, but Kirkfleet ends up winning 7-1. So Kirkfleet's back in the national finals. Wyatt Hendrickson, Lucas Davison. This was a really fun one. Both real big athletic heavyweights. Hendrickson immediately hit a high crotch to a crackdown and scored to go up 3-0. Davison was able to get out pretty quick, and Hendrickson's good on top, so being able to get away from him is a big deal. Hendrickson got right back to a single leg, but Davison was able to defend. They go out of bounds. Davison into a low single leg and switches off and scores a takedown to go up 4-3. Nearly gets near fall with a tilt, but Hendrickson's able to roll through, ends up getting out, and as soon as Hendrickson gets out, he rushes towards Davison, and Davison drops into a single leg, ends up getting another takedown to go up 7-4 with only 3 seconds left in the period, and Davison's able to get the ride out. That was huge. In the second period, Davison picks bottom and is up and out right away to make it 8-4, and scores another takedown. Go behind. Hendrickson was on his head outside high crotch shots, and going to his crackdown was able to have a little bit more success against Davison, but when he was shooting his single leg, he was getting totally stuffed. Davison circled around, hit a inside cradle, and almost put Hendrickson to his back. It looked like he was going to get a fall. Ends up only getting the takedown to go up 11-4. And Davison had his riding time up over 2 minutes by the end of the second period. So Hendrickson was kind of going for Hail Marys the third period. He chose neutral. He got back to his high crotch. Crackdown. Davison was trying to defend, but ends up giving up the takedown. Escaped immediately, so it was 12-7 Davison. Hendrickson was shooting and really attacking, trying to cut that lead down. Under a minute to go, Davison was controlling center. Hendrickson dove in for another single. Davison was able to stuff it and get Hendrickson to his belly and totally stretched out. It looked like Davison could have been able to go around, but Hendrickson kept that lock pretty secure. They end up stalemating, and Davison circles and defends. Gets hit for stalling, but ends up winning 13-7 to make the national finals as the 10 seed. So Davison's returning All-American for Northwestern, transfers to Michigan, but makes the finals. So now Michigan has 2 national finalists in Austin Gomez and Lucas Davison. So that's awesome. Super pumped to have Michigan guys make the finals. I always like to see Coach Bormet do well. Austin Gomez, an Illinois guy. I always want my Illinois guys to do well. Speaking of that, Nasir Bailey of Little Rock is the first ever All-American from Little Rock. They announced this during the during the semifinals. He is I believe a true freshman at Little Rock. He's another Illinois guy, so it's incredible to see. He's coached by an Illinois guy named Albert White, who's my age, who wrestled in Illinois. Is kind of really famous wrestler in Illinois who ended up wrestling at Oklahoma State, now is coaching at Little Rock. So I'm super pumped for them in that program. I believe they have 2 All-Americans. I'm not sure who the other kid is. I apologize. But very pumped to see Illinois guys go out, start something new, build it up, become All-Americans. It's just awesome to hear. So the semifinals was an awesome round. The lighter weights were a bit more exciting, a bit more some controversial things. It's a lot of coaches' reviews in the lighter weights. Some wild stuff happening. Hendrickson and Davison was a super fun match, but 84-97 were kind of chalk, kind of went as you expected. So it was a little bit of a lull there for those weights. But overall, these were some great semifinals. The guys really let loose. There was some awesome wrestling. Highly recommend you go back, watch Austin Gomez, Kyle Parco. Mendez Echamendia at 133 was awesome. Fix Ragusin at 33 was was interesting in the overtimes, just kind of seeing how that played out. Andoni and Haynes was a lot of fun. Keegan O'Toole and David Carr, just a ton of great matches out there to go watch. I recommend you go look all these up if you weren't able to catch the semifinals. And thanks for checking this video out. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel, give this a thumbs up, and I hope to see you on the next one.